Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. This is a special edition of Missing 411, and this one shook me. And what I'm going to talk to you about is not an actual Missing 411 case. It's a murder that happened here in Montana that I think needs as much publicity as we can garner anywhere, everywhere, all over. And I don't care where you're at in the U.S., you need to know about this. It's something that never happens here, and it shook my core. And here's the story. The victim in this is Dustin Kjersem. Dustin was 35 years old. He was murdered in the Big Sky area south of Bozeman and in Gallatin County. He was born in the Bozeman, Belgrade area, was raised there. And Dustin had one son. He was a loving father. At certain times he worked for a cable company, but he also was primarily an expert tradesman. He could frame your house, install your counters, do anything. And he was a hard worker. So Dustin was planning a weekend with a buddy, a guy. Guys get away, hang out in the woods, tell stories. Very typical, not unusual. And he had planned this weekend with his friend. And he was last in contact with the family on on Thursday afternoon, October 10th, just about a week ago. And then after he spoke with some family members on Thursday afternoon, he took off and went south on Highway 191 to the area he was going camping. Let me set this up for you. So Belgrade, Bozeman area, Highway 191 goes south. Big Sky, high-end area of Montana, very high-end. And just south of there, right in this area right here, is the Yellowstone Club. I don't know if you've heard of it, but that is super high-end. Well, Dustin went south on 191, and then he went east on Moose Creek Road, 2.5 miles, and he established his camp. Remote area out in here, no cell service at all. That is key. So, talks to his family and friends that, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going down, I'll pick up my buddy Friday, but I won't be back till Sunday night. So he drives east on Moose Creek Road in this canyon, about 2.5 miles, and he comes upon a site. He might have been there before. And it wasn't an official campsite, but people have used it as a camping area before, so it looked like a campsite. And he pulls in. Now he's driving his Ford truck. This is what the truck looked like. It's a 2013 F-150, and he has a camper tent top on the back. This is important. Pay attention to this. This is a close-up to where he went. South on 191, east on Moose Creek Road. And then that dot is approximately where his campsite was, 2.5 miles down that road. So he drives down the road, unknown if he'd been to this campsite before. But he pulls in, backs in, opens up his tent on the back of the truck, and starts setting up the campsite for the weekend. And he told his buddy that he'd come back and pick him up Friday morning. Well, he didn't make it. He didn't pick up his friend. Nobody heard from Justin until Saturday morning, when the Gallatin County Sheriffs at 10:07 a.m. get a call saying that there's been a bear attack 2.5 miles up Moose Creek Road. And it looks like somebody's been killed. So the sheriff and Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, our game wardens, go up there. They find a gruesome scene. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks determined that there was no bear activity in that area. And how can you tell? So, when a bear attacks a human, there's blood, bite marks, and torn flesh, and bears don't care about evidence. Bears will step right in the middle of everything, and then leaving, they're going to leave prints with blood on it everywhere. It's going to be obvious. And Fish, Wildlife, and Park said there was no evidence of bears in the area. And they're experts at this. So the sheriff took the scene over as a homicide and processed it as a homicide. They impounded Dustin's truck. Now the back of the truck was the scene of the crime. But this is the truck that was at the scene, at the campsite. Now why do I tell you this? Because the sheriff, Gallatin County, a guy named Dan Springer, held a press conference. And he said, hey, if anybody was in that canyon and saw that truck, we want to hear from you. So Sheriff Springer holds a press conference. And he stated that they need leads. They need your help. Hunters and outfitters in the area put up game cameras. They set up their own camps. They need you to contact them. Did anyone see anything strange from Thursday afternoon till Saturday morning anywhere in that canyon? Sheriff was asked during the press conference if there was any danger to people. He said he didn't know. So, if you saw anything strange in that area from Thursday night till Saturday morning, call the Gallatin County Sheriff, 406-582-2100, push number 1, that'll get you to dispatch and that'll get you to a deputy. Now, my assessment of this is troublesome. This is a very, very, very unusual crime for Montana. The area of Big Sky and the Yellowstone Club is very wealthy. That's not to say that bad people don't come through there. Obviously they did, and they did. Now, there was a post on Facebook about this incident by the sheriff, and it's been censored to some degree, because some things I saw before I don't see now. But we're going to talk about this. The timeline. Thursday, October 10th. Dustin's at home, and he's preparing for his camping trip. He knows he won't be in contact with friends and family, so he must have told people that he was going to be out in the woods, unavailable for contact. And he's a father. Fathers tell the mother where they're going to be, when they're going to be back. Even if they're not together, it doesn't matter, because it's their son. And he wants to know if anything happens, this is how you get a hold of me. So my gut tells me that he probably told the mom where he'd be. Maybe, I don't know. But where else and who else did Dustin tell where he'd be at? And this is the key point. So Montana is a gun state. Everybody here has guns. Everybody. Gunfire in the woods, morning, noon, and night. normal, especially during hunting season, which is now. But the killer didn't use a gun, which I find really odd. Why? Because somebody wanted to go hand to hand with Dustin. So if he's up in that camper, up in that tent, on the back of the truck, he was in the tent, which to me means it was nighttime. If it was nighttime, somebody had to crawl up into that camper, get into the tent, and take him on hand to hand. Why wouldn't you just bring a gun, crawl into the tent, and boom, no mess, no fuss, you're done? There's only a couple reasons why. First of all, the killer didn't have access to a gun. Well, so what would that mean? Well, anybody could get a gun, really. But if he was a convicted felon, it would be harder to get a gun. Or someone who had restricted access of guns. Illegal aliens, somebody who's been deemed mentally insufficient and can't have a gun. A few reasons. Now, if you were seen walking down a camp road, I mean, there's people camping all up and down Moose Creek Road, and you had a hatchet in your hand, I doubt anyone would give it a second thought. You're out there, you're chopping some wood for a fire. Nobody would think two craps about it. So hold that thought. So Dustin was to pick up his friend Friday morning for the camping trip, meaning he was going to have to leave in his truck to go get his friend. So the opportunity to kill Dustin was between Thursday night and Friday morning when he left. Right? Or the killer would face two people, which you don't want to do. Now, there's no cell data in the canyon, which really hurts law enforcement. No reception. The sheriff said it appeared Dustin had been hacked or chopped to death. An extremely violent crime. And some would say it was an expression of anger. I can guarantee that investigators are first looking at friends and family as a motive, because it's such an unusual crime. This just doesn't happen up here. And it's not funny. I don't mean to laugh at this. It's not funny. But that's the place you go on this motive. Now, on the Facebook, there was a Facebook post that stated Dustin was having custody issues. He had a son. If that is true, and they were in a custody fight, that can be brutal. Trust me, I know. It would be natural for investigators to pursue this lead. They'd be idiotic if they didn't do it. They wouldn't be doing their job. Of course they're pursuing that lead. They're trying to understand how brutal was this custody fight? How angry was everybody involved? Now, ability. Who has the ability to commit this crime? Well, first of all, that takes somebody on in a small tent, 10 by 10, 8 by 10, the sheriff said. You better be pretty strong. Dustin was a big man. Do I think a woman could do it? Well, if a woman snuck into the tent and in the middle of the night took two hands and waylaid him in the head with a hatchet or something like that, possible. Not probable. This is probably a man. So the other question would be, did he have issues at work? Checked with his work associates. Did Dustin tell anybody at work where he was going to be camping for the weekend? Either somebody knew he was there, or this is a completely random act. I lay 90-10, it's somebody he knows. And why do I say that? Why would the risk of going into a tent in Montana and killing somebody is extremely high? Extremely high. Why? Everybody I know would be having a gun in that tent. Now, the sheriff didn't say if anything was stolen from the scene, or if Dustin was armed, or if any shots were fired. He didn't say anything like that. He didn't say if Dustin fought with this person. So, work associates. Talk to the boss where he works. I interview each one of the people he works with. Name, address, where they've been. Where were they Thursday night to Friday morning? They wouldn't have been at work. So that opens up opportunity. As the investigator, I would go to every store in every gas station within 30 or 40 miles of that crime scene on Highway 191, and I would pull CCTV footage during that time frame from every gas station, every store, everything along that 191 corridor. And why? First of all, it gives you leads. Know the vehicles of the people you're looking at, the suspects. See if those vehicles were there. And on the off chance this is a completely random act, somebody pulls off 191, drives down Moose Creek Road, comes to the first camper he sees and kills him. Not unheard of. Could be. Doubtful though. But you'd want that lead. So the sheriff stated they don't know the exact time of death. I don't believe that. And I'm not calling the sheriff a liar, trust me. I just don't think you release that type of information. It's not important. I think they probably know based on the condition of the inside of that tent. How dry is the blood? There's certain things about a body that shows time of death. And trust me, there's a lot of evidence at that crime scene. The sheriff said that he was hacked in the head and in the torso. Anytime there's a head injury, there's a lot of blood. And there's a lot of blood splatter. They said that they did not know what the weapon was. Which means they didn't find the weapon. Which means the weapon wasn't at the scene. What do I mean by that? Well, Dustin was at a campsite. He was preparing for a weekend of camping. I would have had a hatchet. I might have left the hatchet right there next to the fire pit. Maybe my hatchet killed me if I was the victim. I don't know. Sheriff also didn't say if they expected injuries on the suspect. A man attacking a man. Men are going to fight. Possibly the suspect has injuries. And if you can get to them within that first week, those injuries are going to be apparent. And as an investigator, you're going to look on the hands, face, obvious places for injuries to the suspect. Key. Now, the sheriff said that his investigators are working night and day on this, and I have no doubt they are. And I'm sure that they're doing everything right. This is just for your edification, to understand how this investigation will proceed. During the press conference, Dustin's sister talked. It was heartbreaking. She talked to him about as being a son, an uncle, a dad, a brother. And she said that somebody's out there that knows something. In this world, we need to be good people. Dustin's son needs to know what happened to his dad. And that credence needs to be brought to justice. So if you can help this family in any way, please contact the Gallatin County Sheriff. I don't care where you're at in Montana. If you saw that truck from Thursday to Saturday morning, October 10th to October 12th, or you were on Moose Creek Road, or you were anywhere between Big Sky and Bozeman, and you saw something suspicious Thursday night to Saturday morning, or anything south of Big Sky, anything suspicious, even the smallest things are important. Say you were on the road and you saw some guy walking, pulled over on the side of the road next to the river, and he gets out, he's got blood all over him, and you thought that was odd. And you said, he probably just killed an animal. Things like that, no. Call the sheriff. Because this suspect had blood all over him. Oh, I guarantee it. And whatever vehicle he got into to leave the scene, there's evidence in that vehicle. Trust me, there is. Thank you for being here. Let's help Dustin's family get this credence off the street. Paulides out.